MTN News, this is Montana This Morning.
I'm Jonathan Amberian at the state capitol, where Montana lawmakers got an update from the Department of Public Health and Human Services on final numbers from the Medicaid redetermination process.
J.D. Vance has officially accepted the vice presidential nomination. I'm Sabrina Franza in Milwaukee with his first speech to the American people and his vision for a Trump-Vance administration.
I'm Megan Thompson here in Uptown Butte, and coming right up, we're going to check in with the organizers of the Montana Folk Festival to see how this year's event went.
Alrighty, it is 6:01 on this Thursday morning. Jane McDonald and Matt Elwell with you. Beautiful look at the old Brick Breed and Field House.
Yeah.
However, I don't know, is that smoke, haze, or a mix of both?
A lot of haze out there this morning, and that's from that shot. That's kind of what we focus on, is the potential that we have some haze, and
right.
definitely have it this morning. We did have the temperatures drop in a few areas. That's good. Early morning temperatures have been in the 60s. We're now in the 50s in Belgrade. Still several 60s or near 60-degree temperatures to start the morning. Looks like we do have the potential of some showers as you get into the late afternoon and early evening. It's not going to be something that we all get into the act. This is just kind of an isolated, widely scattered chance of showers and thunderstorms. Wouldn't be surprised to hear a rumble of thunder on the horizon today if you're heading out to the fair. It's not going to last long, and it's going to move out in a hurry. Daytime highs into the 80s and low 90s for most of the area. I'm going to talk more about the impacts and what to expect heading into your weekend and beyond coming up in just a few minutes.
All right, thank you very much, Matt. Now, Montana leaders have issued a final report laying out the results of their year-long review of Medicaid members' eligibility. MTN senior political reporter Jonathan Amberian takes a look at that data.
As of June 30th, the Montana Department of Public Health and Human Services put together a closeout report with final numbers from the Medicaid redetermination process. Department leaders discussed the findings in front of a legislative interim committee on Wednesday. All states had to complete redetermination after the end of the federal COVID health emergency. The report shows out of around 280,000 individuals in Montana, 51% were found to still be eligible and had their Medicaid coverage renewed, while 41% had their coverage ended. In the remaining cases, DPHHS is still trying to obtain the needed information for a final determination. Among children in the program, 56% maintained coverage, and 62% of tribal members were renewed. The state is now back to how it operated before COVID. Medicaid members will have to go through a redetermination annually. During Wednesday's meeting, Rose Hughes of the Montana Healthcare Association said some long-term care facilities are concerned about lingering backlogs on processing Medicaid applications. She said that's led to some facilities providing millions of dollars worth of care, but Medicaid reimbursements still being held up.
This in no way is a reflection on the people out in those offices, and even in, in Helena, who are trying to resolve these cases. It just seems to be a systemic problem where there's enough of a backlog and maybe not enough people, or maybe not enough trained people, because these aren't easy to do.
DPHHS leaders said they're working to resolve cases as quickly as possible, but the issues are multifaceted and go beyond simply staffing.
The continuous enrollment period developed a lot of consistency for clients, but a lot of bad habits in what was their responsibility within this process. And I think as we've moved through that, we're going to get much more into a process where we've got kind of the shared partnership around eligibility, and it's much more clear to everyone what's expected on both sides.
As DPHHS moves into its regular annual eligibility review cycle, leaders say they have about 170,000 cases to process, many of those including multiple individuals. In Helena, Jonathan Amberian, MTN News.
And Montana Fish, Wildlife and Parks is asking for feedback on new mule deer management plans. The 14-member advisory committee is tasked with developing the broad ideas that will help guide the plan. According to FWP, the group identified principles that include, but are not limited to, increasing mule deer populations, managing chronic wasting disease, improving the hunting experience, and improving landowner relationships. FWP says spring surveys of mule deer population trends were generally mixed this year, with some areas showing better herd growth and recruitment than others. The comment period runs through August 16th. And whether it be scorching or freezing temperatures, well, gardeners often rely on the weather when picking a time to plant. Well, for this morning's Montana Agriculture Report, we're going to explore a different approach to a greenhouse.
Big Sandy farmer Bob Quinn is one of the world's foremost experts in organic farming. He's the man who brought us Cracklin Kamut and most recently opened up the Quinn Institute, a 700-acre regenerative organic research project. And before that, he built a subterranean greenhouse.
What I'm trying to do on my farm is grow everything I eat and eat everything I grow.
Organic farmer Bob Quinn had the idea for a subterranean greenhouse a decade ago. And it took root when he saw an ad through a Nebraska company called Greenhouse in the Snow.
I went to visit them and they showed me oranges and lemons and grapefruit and all this stuff in Nebraska. And I said, I've got to have this.
With the help of other farmers, it took about 2 years to build the 17 by 90 foot cement walled structure.
In Nebraska, they go down 4 feet, but they suggested I go down 8 feet here for further north.
The geothermal controlled greenhouse features about 300 feet of 4-inch pipe 10 feet underground to help regulate airflow.
All year long it's 50 degrees, so in the winter it's providing a little heat, and the summer it's providing a little cooling. In the winter that feels warm, right? But today it feels nice and cool.
The greenhouse is divided into 2 sections. The first under 2 feet of topsoil and compost.
This room is 60 feet long, and this is my citrus room. We call it my orange room. So in here is all my citrus. I have lemons and limes and grapefruits and pomelos, and I have some bananas in the middle. I've got a fig tree right here in the end.
Next door is the stone fruit room, under 3 feet of topsoil.
So I have peaches, I have sweet cherries, I have plums.
While the sizzling heat of a Montana summer can send the temperatures soaring,
just over 100, almost 110, my gosh.
Bob loves the thought of being a snowbird without leaving Big Sky Country.
So a lot of people, my grandparents, my parents, even my sister, used to go to Arizona for the winter. But my wife wasn't really interested in going to Arizona for the winter, so I decided to bring a little Arizona to me.
Southeast of Big Sandy, Tim McGonigal, MTN News.
Thank you very much, Tim. Now, tonight belongs to former President Donald Trump at the Republican National Convention as he takes the stage to accept his party's nomination. Last night, he looked on as his running mate, Ohio Senator J.D. Vance, reintroduced himself to the American people and laid out his vision for a potential Trump-Vance administration. CBS News' Sabrina Franza has the reaction to Vance's big speech and a look ahead to today from Milwaukee.
I officially accept your nomination to be Vice President of the United States of America.
In his first speech as the 2024 Republican vice presidential nominee, freshman Ohio Senator J.D. Vance played up his youth.
Joe Biden has been a politician in Washington for longer than I've been alive.
And his Midwestern roots.
There is still so much talent and grit in the American heartland. But for these places to thrive, my friends, we need a leader who fights for the people who built this country.
The 39-year-old Marine veteran and hillbilly elegy author was introduced by his wife, Usha.
That JD and I could meet at all, let alone fall in love and marry, is a testament to this great country.
Vance's debut is already receiving rave reviews from convention delegates.
He laid out a great vision for, I think the future of the Republican Party.
Vance capped off a day that focused on U.S. national security and foreign policy, with speeches from Gold Star families of the fallen and parents of an American taken hostage by Hamas.
We need our beautiful son back.
Tonight, former President Trump will officially accept the 2024 Republican nomination for president in his first public speech since surviving an assassination attempt last weekend.
A lot of people have put my grandpa through hell, and he's still standing.
Trump has said tonight's speech is a chance to bring the country together. Sabrina Franza, CBS News, Milwaukee, Wisconsin. And the Biden-Harris campaign put out a statement last night after the speech describing J.D. Vance as, quote, unprepared, unqualified, and willing to do anything Donald Trump demands. President Biden himself took a softer tone in a BET interview airing this week, calling Trump's running mate a, quote, great guy and hardworking senator, but a really conservative mega Republican. Now, back in some Treasure State headlines, organizers of the Montana Folk Festival held in Butte this past weekend say the heat wave blanketing Montana may have affected attendance. Our Megan Thompson reports that in spite of the weather, business owners say the weekend was a success.
It was just a few days ago that this parking lot here in Uptown Butte was filled with music and dancing for the annual Montana Folk Festival. And while organizers say a heat wave that rolled through town may have impacted attendance, they still say that the event was a success.
It was down a little from previous years. It's nothing, we had a record year last year.
George Everett is the executive director of Main Street Uptown Butte, the organization that hosts the festival. He says this year's crowd was down by about 20,000.
This year, we estimate so far there's about 160,000 people over the weekend, but we know we're down by about 20,000 in buckets and about the same amount in beer sales.
On Saturday, the highs bumped into the 90s, and that's hot for a city that is used to winter storm watches in June. George suspects festival goers may have sought refuge in air-conditioned spaces at local bars and restaurants.
I think the heat helped us a lot this year. People coming into the bars and staying for a little AC, getting a little break from the sun.
Chucky Richards is the co-owner of a boutique hotel that also has a bar and cafe located in the heart of Uptown Butte. He says his business benefits from the folk festival year-round with return customers.
It's not just the 3 days of the Folk Fest that we see a boost. It's in the winter they're making plans, planning throughout the year to come back and see us again, where we really see the boost.
Planning for next year's festival is already underway.
We're going to do it again. A couple people have said we should do it in a couple of weeks, but I think we'll wait till next year. And we'd love to have everybody come back and a few more with them.
In Butte, Megan Thompson, MTN News.
There may be a few fewer faces at the folk festival, but I mean, it was sure a lot of fun still.
They do a great job with that.
Definitely. Now, speaking of doing a great job, some exciting news coming out of the WNBA. Caitlin Clark busted a major record last night with 19 assists in a game, breaking the record previously held by Courtney Vandersloot, who had 18 in the game for Chicago in 2020. I mean, just a spectacular showing by Clark.
That's amazing.
I mean, she assisted on 66 points for the Fever in their loss to the Dallas Wings last night, but still, I mean, a pretty impressive record to be breaking.
Especially, you're talking, she's drawn a lot of attention to the WNBA, and for good reason. But you see the freshman, if you will, really pulling it together. It's pretty cool.
It's an amazing showing, and if this is just her first year breaking a record, what's next year going to hold for her?
That's right.
It'll be an exciting career to follow.
Fun career.
Definitely. Now, time to take a short break, but well, it's hard to ignore that it's election season all around the country, and I'm sure you're receiving maybe some emails or texts from candidates asking for your vote or asking for a donation. But those texts even hit phones on the do not call list. We're going to explore why.